In this video, I'm going to talk about overburden, which is also grouped in with unevenness and waste when we're looking at non-value-added activities or operations in construction. So stay with us. So I'm talking about overproduction today. We've probably heard quite a bit about waste. We talk about this a lot in the 8 wastes. There is a video that we did just a minute ago, which was called unevenness. Okay, however I spell this, even if it's wrong, is automatically right. We're going to talk about overburden right now. Okay, so that is going to be the central focus of our discussion. Overburden, I remember a graphic, I think that Kate did, where she drew a truck, and this is a beautiful truck, by the way. Whatever your whatever your opinions are, that's a jamming truck right there. That's exactly what it looks like. She drew a picture one time on Canva of basically a load being on top of this truck that was too much for the truck. Right? We know what would happen. It would tip it over. It would tilt to the side. It would be one of those YouTube videos that has like 1 million likes because it's one of those dumpster fires that nobody ever wants to see. So overburden is when we really put too much utilization on something that doesn't have the capacity for it. So I want to talk to you about what that looks like in construction and how you can avoid it. So the first thing with overburden is when workers are being pushed. Now, in construction, we've been taught push, rush, panic. No, that's not good, okay? Overburden is when we're like, okay, go ahead and work overtime. Go ahead and do things you're not trained for, right? Not able to do. Work the weekends, okay? Go ahead and lift too many things, whatever the case may be. I could just keep going. When we rush and push and panic workers, we are overburdening them, and it doesn't make them go faster. It creates a loss in confidence. It creates panic. It creates, I think that's spelled with a K. I don't know for sure. It creates undue distress. It creates low morale. It creates lower productivity. It is really, really hard on workers. So we do not overburden workers. We don't want them going too fast, and we don't want them going at a snail's pace. We want them going at an even speed, okay? So I'm not talking about the radical ends. I'm talking about an even speed here. One thing that I want you to know that is really destructive is when you ask a worker to work too much overtime. It was interesting. I was talking to some of my Hensel Phelps buddies out at the East Coast, and they gave me a study done by the U.S. federal government that basically showed research and charts from a research program that showed that between about week 2 and 6, you can get a little bit more production, anywhere around 5 to 10% by working overtime, but that by week 9, it had dropped so much from a productivity standpoint that it's not worth it at all. And it's because of fatigue, and the graph looked exponential. It was really quite disturbing. So when we look at overtime, you can get a little bit of added productivity between week 2 and 6, maybe 2 to 4 weeks, but what it does to the crew is not worth it. So overtime outside of normal ranges. So if I'm not talking like working a 48-hour work week instead of a 40, like that's pretty normal. I'm talking about overtime where fatiguing the crew is definitely in the overburden category and will hurt your production. Another one that will hurt workers and overburden them is in a zone if you have too many trades working in one area to where they're tripping on each other, doing unsafe things, they're on top of each other. This is called trade stacking. Another one, which is the most common, is when you have trades and you ask them, and if you do a filter on your garbage CPM schedule and you see that they are being asked to work, one crew being asked to work in too many areas, right? This is called trade burdening, okay? The reason that this is not a good thing is because one resource was only able to do one thing. Now we're asking them to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've seen this in any analysis that we've ever done in CPM schedules. So you can wish in one hand and manure in the other and see which one happens first, but this is not going to happen. That trade is really only going to be able to accomplish that. But when you rush and push and panic them, your line of balance is going to end up like that because of all of the waste that it creates. But you can overburden people if you have a crew that is supposed to do an activity where you start and finish here, and it requires 6 people, but you're going to expect them to maintain that same deadline with 4. So not having enough people for the task according to production rates can overburden people as well, because they will have to make up that time with extra effort at their expense. One that we commonly don't think of is improper work conditions, right? Imagine that your site is located here and a worker has to come and drive around and find where's the parking lot. Okay, they've had coffee that morning, have to go to the restroom. They can't do it, so they're rushing. How do I get into the site? Okay, I finally found a bathroom. No toilet paper. The bathroom is not clean. Maybe they have to use their own sock to go to the restroom. They go in, attempt to go to orientation. Nobody's there to welcome them. They're stressed. They get shown a video, fall asleep, then are asked to go find the crew. Where is the crew? They're on a treasure hunt. I can't find where we're supposed to go. Oh, I'm supposed to have these tools. Oh, I don't have them, right? By the time they get to the task, then we expect them to like us, to do a good job, to care, to see things how we see them, and want to go the extra mile. That's not going to happen, right? All of this, I can't find the parking lot. I got no place to smoke, no place to go to the restroom, no place to eat lunch. I can't find my crew. Where are my materials? I don't have the support I need. Is not going to have them want to do a good job. It is going to overburden them to where they're going to start peeing in bottles and graffitiing on the bathroom. And quite frankly, we can criticize that all we want, but if we were in those circumstances, we would probably pee in bottles and we would probably graffiti on porta potties as well. So if we don't want to overburden our workforce, we have to provide great working environments. Another one, which is huge, is asking the trades or the workers to do things that they're not trained for. That is definitely overburden, right? Hey, the worker over here, we've got this forklift that we want you to operate. Oh, you don't have a certification card, you don't know how to do it. All right, just go hop in that equipment anyway and go ahead and do it. Then they hit the scaffolding, they hit the hoist, they've damaged the machinery, there's a broken wheel, whatever the case may be. Asking workers to do anything that they're not trained for is going to overburden them, the crew, and have negative consequences for the job site. And I'll close down strong with 2 other ones, is not allowing breaks. This is a bad one. I've seen this happen a lot with iron workers and with finishers and rod busters sometimes, but the concept here is that people should be working throughout the day. That's not the case. People should be working and have a lunch break, right? And they should be working and get breaks throughout the day. This is not just some annoying requirement. I mention all the time in the podcast that the U.S. federal government found in the military that if they gave soldiers a 10-minute break when marching, they could literally march at least 40% farther in a day because they were less fatigued. Breaks help people to rest. It helps their bodies. It helps them reflect on what they've learned, and it keeps them healthy and allows their bodies and their minds to rejuvenate to do their work better. So overburdening is definitely when we don't give people breaks or just give them a lunch break. We've got to make sure that our crews have breaks throughout the day. And lastly, overburdening is when we don't give our trades buffers. So if you have an activity duration and you're like, oh, we've got 4 days to do this, I want the crew to be packaging in that 4-day activity. If we have any interruptions, they can just work overtime. That is overburdening. Okay, that is bad. We don't want that. What we want in each of our wagons that we package in our tack plans is for the activity time to be a certain duration and for us to have a little bit of a buffer. And that buffer is specifically designed for us to finish, to reflect, to make sure that we're doing training, okay, to rest, right? These are needed things before we go to the second activity. We can't just stack them one behind another. We have to have proper buffers. So the key concept for overburden is do not overburden your equipment, do not overburden your tools, do not overburden the process, do not overburden if you had for manufacturing your equipment, and never overburden your people, because it will have negative consequences to production, and obviously we stop respecting people. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.